as we look for speakers and agenda topics, we kind of search high and low and shake the bushes and rattle the internet, and we came across a product out there. And there's been so much focus in the conference so far about the voice of the technician and equipping the technician, and we said, we got to get this company into the conference. So with that, I'd like to welcome Bill Reibel. He's the VP of Business Development for CarTechIQ. So Bill, why don't you come up and tell us what you're doing? That session explores how AI can provide meaningful ways to elevate operations and improve efficiency and help the tech. Come on up, Bill.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, here's your clicker.
All right.
You're good to go.
I'm good.
Kick it off.
Good morning, all. So I'm Bill Reibel. I'm with our CarTechIQ. On your agenda and everything, you'll see the name Dean Riccadulli, who was invited here. Unfortunately, COVID caught him. And so I got the pitch hit here with I think, when was it? Sunday, 6 p.m. I heard about this. Any rate, CarTechIQ, what do? We use AI, and we're focused on the diagnostic and parts side of the business. There's been a lot of discussion about warranty and warranty costs and controlling warranty costs. So that's where we start at the beginning of that whole cycle. And really what we're trying to do here is pull that whole end of the business, if you will, the beginning of it, into modern technology. If you were a Six Sigma engineer and did a time study from when a consumer pulls into a repair facility to when the technician actually diagnoses the vehicle, you'd find volumes and volumes of lost time. And that's what we're focused on. Do it faster, do it right the first time. So what's driving all of this, the need for this? We all know how complex vehicles are, and it grows every year, new models. Mike talked about a vehicle that drives itself yesterday. As a guy that started as a technician, first half of my career was in dealerships and fixed ops. Not sure I'd want to go to work on one of those today. I wouldn't know where to start. The other big problem, and it's been touched on a little bit in the dealerships, is technicians. There's not enough master technicians. There's not enough technicians overall. For, a couple of decades now at the high school level, there hasn't been trade schools or trade classes to get young people interested in that side of the business. So when you say repair a vehicle, the image often still is dirty, greasy hands and barely making a living. In fact, we had a speaker the other day talk about that. What was it, that young fellow, what was his name? Guy from Akron, Ohio talked about that, how he was a tech for a number of years and gave up on it. All right, so what do? We built an intelligent database we call MAPconnected. I refer to it as Mike. Yes, it uses machine learning. It also uses AI as a service. That's really its job. And it's transportation or specific. Part of it, we've trained the agents as a master technician. We've also, within that Mike database, if you will, we've got what we call auto lingo, which is capable of taking in data on parts names or components off of vehicles that are disparate but used throughout the industry. Oxygen sensor, O2 sensor, lambda sensor, et cetera, normalizing it and returning it back in commonly recognized terms through ASE, PIEs, and so forth. And all of this is built as an API as a service. So we're integratable with virtually anything out there. So where do we fit? Use cases. Dealership service departments, that's an obvious one. The automotive aftermarket, if you're in the parts side of the business, you know the nightmare there with parts returns. Half of them have been put on the cars and taken back off because it didn't fix the vehicle. Of course, fleets, and then on the manufacturing side and the parts distribution side. If you go talk to a parts distributor, one of their largest problems is parts returns. A, getting them returned, and B, what do you do with them? Because you don't know if they're good or not still. So far, one of our most successful solutions has been what we call predictive fix. That's that master technician I mentioned. So what it does is it takes the vehicle VIN number, diagnostic trouble codes, and in a matter of seconds, it returns back the most probable repair area. Now, it doesn't say change this part. It says go test this. And that's the big difference. By the way, that return happens in less than 10 seconds. So the end result is a technician today, when a vehicle comes in the door with a check engine light on or a mill light on, there's not a single code in there anymore. There's multiple codes, often across multiple vehicle systems. So where do you start? Now, if you're at a Ford dealership and you're a master technician with 20 years experience, you'll have a real good idea where to start. But there's not enough of them. So what do? You plug it in. If you're using one of our partners' tools that reads the codes off the vehicle, somewhere on that tool there will be a button that says, it'll either say predictive fix, it can say whatever. We don't care. Bottom line is it'll transfer that data seamlessly into our database and return back to you the probable repairs. And this is what it looks like. We rank them from the most likely to the least likely based on a percentage. And of course, being a AI-driven database, the more it's used, the more accurate it gets, the higher the percentage goes. And we all know vehicles fail in patterns, right? Whether it's a part issue, an assembly issue, or a wiring issue. We've also built a chat feature we call Mike. Thank you, I'll take the credit for naming that. At any rate, Mike allows the service advisor to chat. So think about the normal interaction with a customer coming into the dealership. Car's still under warranty. Got a check engine light on. I personally went through this recently. Had a check engine light on. My engine was missing. Pulled into the dealership. Of course, they're doing the right things. They've got the dongle for their DMS system. They plug it in. It pulls the codes, VIN, mileage, puts it on the repair order. But the advisor has no idea what that means. And not that they should diagnose it, but imagine the conversation difference between, well, we'll check it out and I'll call you tomorrow, and if it's covered under warranty, then you won't have to pay our diagnostic fee. Versus, hey, the problem looks to be in the fuel system, so I'll get it to one of our drivability technicians, and then I'll call you. So huge difference in the consumer communication. And think about the shop efficiency. Technicians have one thing to sell, labor, right? That's been talked about. But they can only sell labor when they get the vehicle in their repair bay with the proper technician, with the skill set to fix that vehicle. And that's where Mike really helps out. And again, this can be integrated and automated depending on the systems that they're using at the dealership. Here's an example of a vehicle scan tool, and we are partnered with one currently that has thousands of tools out in the field. So you plug it, technician plugs it in, or it can be done with a dongle during the write-up. Read the codes, punch it through up to us. We come back and tell you the probable repairs. From a technician point of view, great. Now I go test in this vicinity on the vehicle. I find what I need to do to fix it. I got to replace this component. We plug a link in there to service information. So instead of a technician having to search for that component, they can click on the link and get right to that within a page or two of where they need to be to actually see the remove and replace procedures with the specifications. So again, think about the time savings. Think about the accuracy of repairs the first time that can help. Been a lot of talk about warranty costs. Huge problem, right? You do bench testing on parts. Years ago when I was at Delphi, for 3 days I stood testing fuel module assemblies, the ones come out of the fuel tanks. Bench testing, myself and a bunch of other engineers. 50% of them tested perfectly good. But to that example we heard yesterday, that's a bench test, that's not real world. And by the way this is set up, and don't ask me to describe all the IT technical things, because that's not my game. But it's all set up for private agents, private clients. What's the term? Bespoke, right? So we separate our customers. So your data stays your data. Nobody else can see it, nobody else can use it. And we would only use it with specific written conditions and agreement with you as a customer. The agents, as I said, we've trained one as a master technician. We're currently training one as a service advisor. After that, it'll be the warranty agent, thinking of that warranty processing, how to do that better. And from a security input and security point of view, we take security very, very important, very highly top of mind at all times. Data first, privacy, absolutely. As I said, totally separate customers. Our current customers have tested it numerous times, 100% guaranteed. From a reliability or a user point of view, in a recent pilot, we had, it was a 75-day pilot. We had 100% uptime, which we're very happy that AWS didn't take us down as they did some customers here recently. We cover today, from a vehicle park point of view, roughly 98% of the vehicles. We don't do the specialty vehicles. If you drive a Ferrari, we can't help you. And our average return time during this pilot, from the time they put the DTC in until they got the results, was 7 seconds. That's pretty remarkable, particularly when you think about the infrastructure involved and the wireless connectivity at the shop that's being used. And of course, we're scalable and redundant. So what advantages do we have? What do we bring to the market? We're built to grow and evolve. I'm not going to read all of this. Bottom line is that we are customizable to our customer, be it a scan tool company, be it an OEM, be it a DMS, be it a shop management system on the aftermarket side, any other kind of testing tool that's involved in even end-of-line testing it could be integrated with. We are patented in a number of areas today and patent pending in many others. And since we're tight on time, I've raced through this. However, like I said, I'm pitch hitting for Dean, and I'm happy to answer any questions there are. I'm going to be here the rest of the day in addition. So, CarTechIQ, we're here to assist from an integration point of view.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Bill? Yes, okay. Get him a microphone.
Jay, Kia. I have two questions. They're both kind of related. So a lot of times the most common repair method is not the best repair method.
I agree.
A lot of times,
Historically, I agree.
a lot of times we also will find a specific way to repair that's better. So, I'll just give you the two parts. The first part is, do you set up for your clients a way to kind of override the logic? Like if we see this and this, then, we need the technician to do this, to double check, because maybe they could instead of replacing the whole transmission, maybe they could replace a module. And then the second part is it guiding them what to check to confirm, or is it just like this is the majority of the time, this is the fix? Because it seems like it should be more like, it's most likely this, but you should probably check this to confirm.
So again, we don't tell them replace the transmission. We don't tell them replace the solenoid or the sensor on the transmission. We tell them to go test it. And we do have a feedback mechanism for the technician to tell us, was the most probable repair the one that corrected this vehicle or not? And every time that system is utilized, it learns. So if it tested 10 Kias with that common problem across the region, over a course of 48 hours, it would get smarter each time and refine that response. Does that answer all your two questions? All right. Whew. Got away with that one.
Good job. Okay, up here in the front.
First, very interesting presentation. I'm just curious, when you go through the diagnostics and the data comes down, is that something that could be integrated with, something like CDK, some DMS system where you could use part of the notes that would go into an RO?
Mm-hmm.
You went through the steps, because every tech I've ever talked to told me I'm a tech because I hate to write. If I wanted to write, I would have become a writer. And if they can find a shortcut to putting in, the technician notes, which helps them, during audits and other things, this would be great.
So I think the question really is about, can the probable repair that fixes the vehicle, right?
Right.
Simply be dumped back into or fed back into the DMS system? The short answer is yes, it can. Have we done it yet? No. Are we in talks to do it? On the aftermarket side, we are with shop management systems. In addition to that, as a former technician, you don't want to see me write, and I don't like to write. So we're working with that mic that I mentioned, the chat feature, to do voice recognition. Understanding technician talk is not something you necessarily want on a repair order that's going to be seen by anyone other than another technician. And that's really the biggest challenge, but yeah.
Well, you could also have sort of pre-canned statements that they could select from a menu, something like that, or certain types of repairs. But
right.
I'll let you figure that.
That could be tied to the repair or the parts replacement, as the case may be.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions? Yeah, in the back of the room, back there.
Yes, Tim with Workhorse. So you say this is trained as a master technician or has a master technician agent inside of it. So do you pull a sampling of the data that agent then looks at to help make a diagnosis, or is this just really build off of previous cases?
I'm sorry, repeat that very last part.
Yeah, could you do the whole thing a little bit louder?
Okay. Is that picking up better? So you say it has a master technician agent inside of it. So
An agent trained as one, right.
yeah. So does it pull a sampling of the data that the car outputs and then compares that and does an actual diagnosis, or is it most likely just looking at previous cases?
So there's two ways that Predict-to-Fix is used today, and that's what you're referencing. One is with integration partners, that scan tool that I showed you. So if it's an integrated partner with a scan tool, then the data is reviewed and analyzed before the probable repair is returned. The other way to use it is without an integration, where you can either put in the VIN number or you can actually go year, make, model. And of course then you're not getting nearly as accurate of a response. But it can be used either way. The ideal way is with the integration, the data flow in, review it, send it back out.
Thank you.
Okay, if I can ask a question. You're not alone in this space.
No.
Not a surprise, right? You know, there's some competitors, and everyone is a lot of companies are trying to do this, go from diagnosis, help the tech do diagnosis. Long term for the tech, these type of tools, does it minimize the need for technician training, or does it continue to enforce the need for technician training?
My opinion, it enforces the need for technician training.
Okay.
Because, you know, you think about it, today we're in, you know, part or component replacement. We're not disassembling and repairing components like we did a long time ago. However, open up the hood on your car today, and what do you see? You see a bunch of nice plastic covers. And where's the components? And that's all got to do with airflow under the hood. But as a technician, I need to know where that component is, how can I get to it the quickest. So, again, thinking back to how a technician makes a living, they're all on flat rate. So they've got to equal, in a perfect world, they need to be at least 100% effective. Meaning they work 8 hours, they book 8 hours worth of labor for the owner, whether it's a dealer owner, shop owner, doesn't matter. That's how they pay for the square footage in that repair bay that they occupy, that they're responsible for. So the need for technician training to understand electricity and electronics across, you know, we're lucky in car and light truck because that training's been going on for decades. You go to the medium duty or heavy duty world, which we're also involved with, whole nother ball game. And with electric vehicles, which I believe our friends at Workhorse, that's their world, that's a whole different ball game. So the need for training, in my opinion, it's accelerating, not slowing down.
I'm very excited to announce our next speaker, Ed Allen. And Ed, if you want to go get mic'd up. You're already good. Okay, great. Ed, come on up. So I'm excited to introduce Ed Allen, manufacturing lead with Pega. And just kind of how this presentation came together is there's so much emphasis on AI, and AI is going to take over claim, you know, adjudication, and AI is going to solve all the problems in the world. But I know a large number of OEMs have invested heavily in a business rules engine to adjudicate our claims, their claims. I remember when I was at Ford, we talked to Renee at GM, and GM's got a business rules engine. We talked to Caterpillar. Caterpillar's got a business rules engine. We did all our benchmark. Everybody has a business rule engine, so hey, at Ford, we need to buy a business rule engine. And so we did, and we bought one from Pega. And we built that out, and we have over 10,000 rules in that business rules engine. So now AI is coming along. So I wrote Alan Trefler, CEO of Pega. And I said, you know, we run this conference and focuses on AI and how AI is going to help, but, you know, there's a lot of customers out here that are still running business rules engines. And Alan, just FYI, half of the OEMs that come to this conference are running Pega business rules engines or Pega software. Mm-hmm. Can we get Pega's view on what's going to happen to business rules engines as AI comes along? Does it replace, supplement, or whatever? We're looking forward to hear what you're going to say.
Great,
so,
Mike. Thank you.
All right, let's welcome Ed Allen. Ed, thanks for coming.
Right. Thanks, Mike. All right, great. Thanks for the commercial. Very much appreciate that, Mike. And thanks, of course, to you and Pam for the invite. Really, happy to be here. It's been a great event so far. It's been lots of knowledge shared, lots of insights, lots of deep sort of detail which is not usual. So it's been really great to see that in this conference. So as Mike said, a couple of things. I want to introduce sort of Pega in general. I'll introduce this session, and then I'll introduce my colleague Jeff here. We're going to talk about the title of this is interesting. We'll try to wrestle with this a little bit, but we kind of want to talk about from legacy dependent to AI pioneer in days and not decades. So that's kind of what we put together as the mantra for this presentation. If you take a look at, I'd like to maybe just challenge everybody in the room here, just with me for a minute. Think about, with all of the technology tools that are emerging, and we're steeped in them, right? You walk outside, you see lots of great presentations around emerging technologies the last couple of days. But what does this industry look like in 3 to 5 years, right? What's different, right? So if we show up to work every day, what kind of change are we going to collectively help drive in the industry around warranty in general? And I'll just paint a little quick picture. You know, I worked back in the first 10 years of my career. I worked at Ford, similar to Mike and similar to several of you in the room, and we had a major warranty claim. At the time, I was running a group called International Export Operations, and so when that came up, most of my day job was, hey, I was running manufacturing and supply chain for this international export kind of business, but it was around the world. Suddenly, major warranty event happens, and all of a sudden, I'm in charge of international warranty, like just as a natural part of the job. And so back then, when the warranty, this major event happened, we didn't have the tools that we have now, right? The tools weren't available, and this is late '90s probably, right? So my job became, hey, go take these VHS cassettes. You guys remember those VHS cassettes, those square box, and it had like some test data, some warranty sort of discovery that had been done. And I'd take these. One day I flew from Detroit here, from this airport, to Caracas, Venezuela, dropped off this VHS tape, and then flew back. So that was like the world's most inefficient process, right, at the time. But that was sort of the tools that are available. And it was like, the challenge was trying to connect all of the information that was available, and and then in some cases we just had to do it manually. It was super secretive, right? So that's why we had to kind of hand courier or deliver this stuff. But today, fast forward, tools are a lot better, right? And there's been a great evolution from then until now of, let's say, you see tons of warranty systems, transactional systems have developed, right? So most of you in the room have multiple, most likely dozen or more warranty systems in different pockets of the organization that need to be connected, kind of a thing. And so I'll give you sort of just a bit of intro background of Pega real quick. I think from my background, from Ford, I went on to work at Oracle for 16 years in the IT space. A lot around warranty management, quality. We looked at buying acquisitions. We did buy a bunch of companies that had warranty systems embedded, and we just decided that, hey, look, we're just going to need to build our own. And so we ended up building sort of our own warranty system because of the connectivity was so complex. The data structures were complex. The connectivity was so complex. We just needed to build it on a core platform. After that, I went to IBM, worked there for several years, worked at a company called Infor for several years, all in sort of core technology and trying to be on the front end of emerging technologies and applying those to real-world problems. So fast forward, I want to just talk about why I'm here and my colleague Jeff. And by the way, let me introduce Jeff real quick. Jeff Barbato, he's in the front here, Pega guy, ex-GM person, worked at OnStar in infotainment, did diagnostics, worked in customer experience, and a lot more for 24 years. And now joined Pega in the same mission that I'm on, and I'll tell you why. I'll hopefully speak for you too, Jeff. So I think there's a lot of data, and as Mike eloquently introduced at the beginning, the process is really important. And let me just fast forward a little bit. The process around connecting, there's tons of challenges. I don't need to tell this room what the challenges are, right? You obviously know what some of the challenges are, but there's a lot of data in a lot of different pockets of the organization. And if you look at the evolution of the IT industry over time, you see warranty systems evolve, you see finance systems, you see quality systems, you see HR systems. All of these are typically in pockets of the organization. Highly functional systems with lots of data, but not interconnected. That's the hard part, connecting these different functional pieces of the system. Then you add in DMS, you add in dealer collaboration systems, you add in sort of supplier connectivity, and the integration between OEM and supplier. And now you're talking world-class complexity, especially with the size of the organizations that we all work in. And so if you take a look at why warranty is such high stakes, it really affects the customer experience. And we've been hearing here, very over and over that warranty, not just as a way to recover costs, or a way to kind of figure out how to mitigate challenges that are already out there, but more as an agent for driving enhanced quality and competitiveness, customer trust, and intelligence about how they're using the vehicle. But taking that warranty and not making it sort of an obligation, but making it more a strategic advantage. And how do you make it a strategic advantage if you don't have sort of connectivity across an entire organization? So that's kind of where Pega comes in. So Mike talked about this. He talked about the ability to be able to manage workflows across an organization. And if you look at this, boy, this sure seems like a really simple diagram. a bunch of circles and a star, but we all know in this room that every single one of these is incredibly complex and not specific to one function, right? Not specific to an OEM, not specific to a dealer, not specific to a supplier, but it has to transcend all of those, and it has to transcend functions within those. Finance, quality, operations, engineering, they all need to be included in these processes. But to date, systems have been developed in these functional domain areas, right? So there's a warranty function, there's a finance function, there's a purchasing function, there's a supplier function, there's a dealer collaboration function, there's a DMS function. There are all these different pockets. But take a look at any one of these processes that are shown on here. They all have to be orchestrated across different functions. So as Mike said, like this process orchestration, this process optimization is really important. So enter now, hopefully I painted that picture, but now enter AI, right? What's the great promise of AI, which is, I think, Mike, why you invited us here. Yeah, it'll do everything. So the three domains we've been talking about here, and there's been some really great presentations and discussions about AI and what the possibility of AI, what it brings. But AI, I would just talk about three dimensions of AI. AI from a decisioning perspective, right, which can help augment human decision-making, can gather information and help make decisions. It can actually make decisions. So repetitive decisions can make that and save people time and just, pull up exceptions. But to do that, you need sort of advanced machine learning capabilities. You need the ability to be able to gather data from multiple different sources. And you need some decision rules that certainly can evolve over time, but they need to be optimized and trustworthy, right? So you need to be able to build those types of capabilities. Then you've got generative AI that probably most of you are using personally, right? Probably have maybe on your phone or on your computer. And that generative AI can help to drive automation. It can help to drive efficiency. There's really, it's going to be table stakes. It's going to be like everybody in this room uses Excel. Eventually, everybody will use generative AI, if you're not already. And so it'll be really difficult to drive some competitive advantage just with generative AI. The context is really important. So let's talk about this third component. This third component is AI transformation. So how do we harness these tools in this world of complexity that we live in to be able to drive really significant growth, to be able to see what we're going to look like 3 to 5 years out? What's that going to look like? And so to do that, we really need cross-functional process orchestration. So to go from some of the diagnostics that Bill was talking about earlier, from the vehicle itself, how does that information get extracted? How does it get better, right? How does it get shared back with the OEM, back with the engineering team, back with the quality team, back with from a manufacturing perspective? How do we lift that and orchestrate that across so that they can be a meaningful change very quickly? So we start to get more into not just fixing the problem, but coming back and actually preventing it, right? How do we drive that connectivity? And so then you need to be able to just enforce business rules, manage exceptions, and then create this orchestration layer to do that. So that's what Pega does. I'll introduce some of the capabilities of Pega and then challenge you all kind of to think in a different way kind of going forward. So this agentic process, this fabric that Pega offers, this is taking those 3 different AI tools those capabilities that I just talked through, and embedding them into this process orchestration layer, so that can go into multiple different systems, multiple different functions of an organization, multiple different personas within an organization, and quickly be able to map orchestrated processes across functions. So what does that look like? So a couple of things. One is that we try to decide, like, hey, how can we use these AI capabilities to be able to go fast, right? To be able to model processes very quickly without having to go and do multi-year projects at individual functions, but try to elevate above the legacy of existing systems and think about what a future process can and should look like. And so we took an AI engine and turned it into ability to be able to discover existing processes in place. So, for example, what are you doing internally for early warning detection? And what happens to the data once it's detected? Right? What does that orchestration look like? And almost inevitably, there's lots of manual processes, handoff, time latency, data challenges, kind of a thing. But we can go in and model, first step, go in and model as-is process. What does that look like? And use some tools to be able to rapidly discover that. Who are the people involved? Who are the personas? What data objects are involved with that? And what does the overall process look like? And then go back, and second step, to go back and then take those workflows and say, okay, this is what it looks like. This is what this work stream looks like today. And inevitably, it's super complex, right? Usually complex, and there are usually some challenges at nodes within the process that become bottlenecks. And so what are those bottlenecks? And so after that, we come back and say, okay, how do we take AI and prescribe a more optimal process? What does that look like? Here's your bottlenecks. Here's the data elements that you need. And here's what industry best practice looks like. Just taking AI and say, hey, this is what early detection should look like, or this is what recovery of cost should look like, right? And then model those into, here's a prescribed recommendation. We let you come back and say, well, yeah, that looks good. That looks like a good process, but we'd like to model this slightly different way. So the tools are embedded to be able to go and model processes like the 2B processes. Now the challenge typically is, and if there's anybody in IT in here, probably freaking out a little bit, like saying, oh, what about the data, right? What about the data across all these different nodes? What do we do with this data? Like, how do we make sure it's reconciled? How do we store the data? And so one of the things is that Pega's created really tight integrations with hyperscalers. If you look on this slide, you see AWS and Google and Snowflake, where this data can be extracted from multiple different systems, unleashed and sort of built into the cloud, and we call this a layer cake basically of data from multiple different systems, and then can be, once it's there, can be orchestrated for the process you're designing. Now, inevitably what happens is customers will come in and build a first process this way. We'll do it with them almost always, right? So Pega team will come along and build the first process. Once the data is in the cloud and once the first process is built out, people start to say, wow, now let's see what else is possible, and start to build rapid number of these processes behind it, right, from an automation perspective, which happened at Ford, right, Mike? And so then what happens is that you start to see this sort of leap forward in process, right? So the art of the possible from a data perspective. And I'll give you one example. We had an event similar to this a couple weeks ago. It was a Pega forum we did in Detroit, and Daimler Truck spoke at it. And Daimler Truck had done a significant project. They did their initial project, and then they came back with their own team. They started doing second, third project, and they did one on intake, like case intake. And what they were able to do is they took data from 18 different systems, right? So they orchestrated the process. They did these in these 3 steps. Step 1, 2, 3. They did the discovery. Here's our existing process. Here's what we think the process can and should look like. Here's the different people that need to be involved in the process, and here are the data objects that need to be considered as we go through, as we build out this process. And so they did that. They had 18 different systems they had to extract data from. And eventually, as they did that, they moved that data from where it was in those systems. They exported it into AWS, into the cloud. And eventually, they came back. They replaced those 18 systems. They did this project in 49 days. And eventually, they replaced all of those systems. So now, over time, what happens is they cancel the contracts, they cancel the support, they don't have to build integrations. It was a massive move forward in a very short period of time. So essentially what happened was they took the data out of these systems, democratized it, elevated it into the cloud, built this layer cake so that they can access it, and then modeled processes across it. So that's essentially what Pega does in a nutshell. Many of you in the room are existing Pega customers. Thank you for that. Many of you are kicking the tires and will be shortly customers. and so I think that with these examples, I think I'll just fast forward, just in the interest of time. I think we have a what to do next kind of a thing. So I just throw out this challenge. What does this look like in 3 to 5 years? What do warranty processes look like in 3 to 5 years? And you don't have to wait 3 to 5 years to sort of model that. So we have an ability within this tool that we've created called Blueprint. And this, let me just see if it's a, no, we had a self-running demo, but I'll just talk about it. It's just a static here. So what Blueprint does is helps you go and model these processes. So unleash your imagination, kind of like what I just walked through, and say we go back to any one of these processes or any warranty-related processes. Imagine the wheel that I showed earlier. Pick one, and say, hey, this is our existing process today. This is not going backwards. Oh, there it goes. Okay. And how do we orchestrate that process? How do we leverage the best available AI capabilities that are available today, but leverage them in the context of process? That's really important, because without that thread that goes through, that process thread that goes through, what you'll be left to do is to say, okay, how can we use AI in this pocket of this particular application, which is not insignificant. It is totally significant, but it's very slow. Right, so if you take this and say optimize AI for this function, and take the Daimler Truck example. If they would have went and took AI optimization in each of those 18 nodes of systems, that would have taken a long time, and they still have to run the integrations and build, constantly maintain those integrations. But with this model, you can leave that data in place. Just embrace that as that legacy data, elevate it to the next level, and then just start to run process orchestration above it, cut to the end faster, Now, eventually you can go back and continue to build on those and make them definitely more efficient if you want to the individual applications. But this is a way to be able to move very rapidly. So a couple of things here. I think that this blueprint gives you the ability to be able to go in and rapidly model. So I challenge everybody in the room, and I'm going to we're going to fast forward a little bit. But so imagine what your current process looks like. Imagine what it could and should look like. This tool will go and suggest what it could and should look like. So you can just go in, and I'll show you I'll leave you with this link. That was supposed to be AI orchestrated. But so this link, take a picture of this QR code. What this does is it takes you to a tool that we created called Blueprint. And what we did with Blueprint, and this is just released a year and a half ago, but we said that how can we help our customers go? How can we use AI to be able to help customers go as fast as possible in this space? And so what I showed you before, that screenshot, was actually Blueprint. And all you do is type in, hey, I want to do early warning detection for automotive, and you can be as descriptive as you want to. I want to connect this portion to dealer information, diagnostic information, telematics data, whatever that data is, and just be as descriptive as possible. And what spits out is, hey, this is what we think the process should look like. This is the best practice in the industry from the data that we have in the AI engine. This is what that process looks like. Then can go back and say, well, that's close, but we want to model it this way. And this is a little drag and drop. You can create your process from that. And then what happens is it gives you sort of a to-be process in minutes, literally minutes, right? Now, it's not active, but it is a to-be process. And so what has to happen after that is that once that's built out, that can be exported. And then you have your own cloud-based instance of a business process. Now, it takes time to tweak it because you have to map the data objects, you have to map the personas over time. But these processes, these aren't multi-year processes. These aren't decade processes. These are weeks, right? So this takes, like in the Daimler example, just a handful of days to be able to drive the implementation. So, Jeff and I will be here for today, just happy to have a conversation about this. But I challenge you to go and do this on your own. Call us anytime you want to as you start to build this stuff out. And then take a look at, hey, what does this industry look like? What does your company look like 3 to 5 years in the warranty space? And just challenge yourself. Do it today. What does it look like? We can at least model that out today and then figure out next steps from there. So with that, thanks again for the opportunity. And we're here for the rest of the day. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. I have about, no, don't go anywhere.
Uh-oh.
I have about 1,000 questions. Okay. Questions from the room, though? Okay, up here in the front, Ford.
Hey. Good morning.
Here comes a microphone.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa Schath from Ford. So as you challenged all of us to look at the next 3 to 5 years, what do you see from your insight is going to be the greatest challenge for everyone?
Yeah, that's a great question. From my perspective, we hear a lot about data as a challenge, and it absolutely is, right? It needs to be clean data because in order to orchestrate all this stuff, data is absolutely the foundation. The bigger challenge, I think, once that's been a challenge forever, right? The bigger challenge is how to take these emerging technologies and how to pull them together to be able to drive out complexity in the organization and to be able to drive significant improvement. And I think that the ability to do that, let's say this industry is unique for a lot of reasons. One, there's giant companies in this industry, right, that have grown up with departmental functions, departmental systems, departmental organizations, and that collaboration cross-functionally, I think, is going to be the biggest challenge because the pace of change is going to move faster than the organization can adopt the change, and I think that's going to be where a lot of competitive advantages is going to be derived, or maybe not. Yeah, it's my take. Yeah, thanks.
All right, thanks. So we only have a couple minutes left. I was encouraged to hear you use the Daimler case study, okay?
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. Good job. Is Pega in the warranty space or not going forward?
Well, totally, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Why would you think not?
We can have that conversation later.
Okay.
So
okay.
there have
Yeah.
been a lot of
Yeah.
rumors, you know, hey, Pega sold off the warranty application to somebody else, and they're supporting it, and they're not. So
No.
Okay, so you're in it to be in it.
Yeah, yeah, and
We would love to have your sponsorship of the conference, you know, so lots of opportunities, because, hey, we have 30 OEMs or claim processing companies in the room right now.
Yeah.
That all do
Perfect.
warranty,
Perfect.
and man, we would love to have you guys as a permanent part of our team.
well, thanks for that.
All right.
Thanks for that.
Thank you very
Really-
much. Thanks
yeah,
for coming.
All right,
And tell
appreciate it.
Alan thanks for supporting our conferences here.
All right, you got it.
All right. Thank you.
We're not going back very far. Because I was at this conference 5 years ago, I've been at this conference every year because I'm local and I'm in warranty, and yeah, why wouldn't they send me? And I remember when I first started coming to the conference, there was a few themes that kind of resonated. I mean, you'd go across all the booths in the hallway and they were all promoting the same thing. You don't have enough data, let us help you. You're trying to cut warranty costs, let us help you. You're trying to automate warranty, let us help you. And I feel like a little bit has changed with the information influx. We're reducing silos. When I'm working with customers, I'm seeing a lot of reduction in siloed information and siloed data. It's coming together. We've got data lakes now, so there's a place for the data to go. Warranty costs have always been a concern. I don't think that's ever going to go away. But now that we have more data, we can go change the focus a little bit more on not just automating claims and reducing warranty costs, but what else can we reduce? Quality issues with warranty information, with the information that's in the data lakes. So I'm definitely seeing a great progression, and it's really interesting to watch firsthand with customers like Valmont, how that looks and how that works for them. When we talk about the information that we have now, though, the issue isn't there's not enough data or we can't get data from the right teams. It's we have too much data, we have noise, we don't have enough time to process it and even understand what it means. So that's where we try to come in and help customers like Valmont. So as Mike mentioned, Samantha Horton with Tavant. I'm a business architect there for 6 years now. With Katie Clausen's here, if you want to give a little introduction.
Sure. I'm the global warranty manager for the irrigation division of Valmont Industries. So what we do is we manufacture the irrigation pivots that water the crops out in the fields. I've been in the job for about 8 years and have been trying to get Tavant in to work with us for about 5 of those.
Not because we didn't want to.
Not because of them.
I think Katie's being a little modest. She's not giving you the full background of her role. She is the single source of warranty for Valmont when it comes to irrigation. And we're talking a global company with irrigation systems anywhere from South Africa, Australia, Europe, North America. They're everywhere. And we're talking the big systems that you drive past out in the fields that go on forever and ages out there. So it is actually pretty complex system that we've got to see firsthand. But Katie is a single source. All the claims come into her. And we're talking across the globe. She's the only one seeing every single claim and every single issue. So as we get into a little bit of discussion about early warning, we'll kind of come back to that and how we can help companies like Valmont and people like Katie in those positions. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about early warning. We are talking about data and data lakes and where all that information comes from, but also where it can go and how it can help. The case for early warning, I think, is very strong now more than ever because we've automated. We've got the business rules engines. We're automating the claim processing. We understand where maybe some excess warranty costs can be cut. But how do we help in other ways as far as quality issues and detecting faster? Besides the quality issues, the customer expectations have also risen. We hear that daily, whether that's your dealers or actual end consumers. They're all expecting faster resolutions. They're using ChatGPT to write emails. Why can't you use the same technology to come up with resolutions faster for your failures? So I'm sure everyone in the room can kind of understand a little bit about that and has similar experiences. We're also seeing the ability to use maintenance as a predetermined factor as well as far as early detection goes. So when we're asking dealers to go out and maintain, and we're getting that customer feedback also when dealers are going out to do maintenance, we're able to use that information for early warning. So we've got more touch points on the products, whether that's a vehicle, a tractor, or a irrigation system out in the field. We're also looking at extending warranty, or not extending warranty life, but product life, asset life, and making major improvements on that when we're doing the regular maintenance, and also using that information for early detection. So more touches on the product, more information and feedback from the customer and dealer is all of the different data points that we're using for that early detection. And when we talk about early detection, when it comes to warranty, obviously we're not talking prediction here. I'd like to think that in maybe 3 to 5 years, that's going to be the next big thing, is actual predicting failures before they occur and even reducing this cost even more. But right now we're talking about warranty, and warranty means the failure's already happened. So how can we use that as a benefit, as a plus to us? We're looking at using that warranty information to prevent widespread failures, widespread costs before it becomes a major issue globally. We think about irrigation systems that are used across multiple regions. All of the different weather factors, the ground conditions all come into play, and is information that is coming into the warranty claims and warranty system. So detecting those types of issues before they become a widespread problem, using all the different data points. There is actually quite a bit of information out there. So as far as the warranty claims, but also technician notes, using natural language processing to analyze technician comments and getting more information from them. Any IoT and analytics information, the sensor data. Then also the part returns. Part returns are coming in and inspections are happening, but where is that information going? And how does it connect to the warranty claim and the IoT information as well? So kind of really bringing all of that together, as well as customer and dealer feedback. So scraping social media sites and blogs. Are your customers out there complaining about an issue that maybe hasn't even come back on a warranty claim yet? Those can all be really linked together, and when it comes together, it's definitely a lot more powerful than it is individually on its own. So looking at the information that we've got, that we're talking about, all those different data sources and capabilities, we're working on pattern recognition, grouping together the issues that are found, and then starting to use agents to prioritize and determine, is this a safety issue, a risk factor for your customer or dealer? That's going to get a higher priority and get notifications out faster to different team members, but also identify anomalies. So if we've got a pattern, now we can also get a baseline. And once we've got a baseline, we can start looking at anomalies to see whether that's a cost factor, a quality issue, or a reoccurring problem, using those different levels to prioritize issues and send out notifications to different team members. But we come back to Katie at Valmont. We're talking about that one person processing all of the individual claims and one person seeing all of the different issues. It was crazy to me when I sat across from her at the table and she started telling me, yeah, I have to think back, oh, did I see a claim on that already, and who should I notify about this issue? And then she's getting also reports in from the part returns guys out in the shop going, hey, we opened up this, and here's what we found. This is different from the last time. So now she's getting information in from all different sources. So we kind of came up with our own little joke. We were calling her Katie AI because she was doing everything that we were like, hey, this agent could help you. So let us come in and see what we can do and how we can improve your day-to-day work. So I think a lot of the challenges that we used to talk about as far as the silos and the inconsistent formats are either already solved or solvable. Companies like Tavant, Pega, others can come in and help with the data cleanup, get some consistencies across the different regions, or at least help you bring that information in and make it tangible and bring in information that's going to help. When we talked with Valmont, again, we saw some major areas of improvement when it came to warranty and automation, as well as globalization. So as we're talking about the different regions, we're bringing all of those in, but I'll let Katie talk a little bit about our project.
Yeah, so before we brought Tavant in, our major plan was to just wrap me in bubble wrap so that nothing could happen to our warranty data. But right now, the system that we're currently using was a homegrown system. It's 25 years old. You know, everything everybody said yesterday was basically my story. I felt like I was just up here talking all day yesterday because just about everything was relatable to me. One of the biggest things that made me want to drive a change with the warranty system was when our lead engineer brought over a new member of his team, and he said, you know, this is Katie, she can get you whatever warranty information you need, but you have to take that information with a grain of salt. And that was like a gut punch. You know, I want my warranty data to be something that's useful, to be something that we can feed back into the organization, you know, something that engineering can take and it's tangible that they can act on. So that's what really drove me, you know, to start discussing this with my manager and with our upper leadership, that we needed to do something better. We needed to get better systems in. We needed to be able to have a system in place that our dealers weren't able to just put other in for the failure mode, which is the bane of my existence right now. You know, it's feeding through all of that data, and sometimes you have to resort to just reading the comments that the dealer puts in for you, and it's just too time consuming. So yeah, we brought Tavant in to kind of help us get a new system in place, to help us better help the dealers and to put in better data for me so that I can, you know, act upon it better, feed it back into the company, get it to QA, to engineering, and just make our product better so that we can hopefully stop problems before they get out into the field.
So some of the areas that we're focusing on right now are some of the basics. Like she mentioned, claim entry, making sure dealers have easier time entering information, as well as inspections of the product. So a big portion of this is what they call commissioning, which is actually asking the dealer to go out in the field after the irrigation system is set up and installed and running to make sure everything is A-OK and set up correctly before, you know, any failures start occurring. So they can kind of validate everything's set up to spec because it is such a complex system. So we're enabling a mobile application for that, something that, you know, again, globally can be used offline, out in the field, which is another great touch point to bring in when we're talking about warranty data and information and that early warning detection. When it comes to the warranty claims, like I mentioned, easier claim entry and access, but also more business rules for Katie to be able to set up and manage, so she's not touching every claim. But she's touching those outlier and expensive and weird claims that she gets. So a lot more focus on the specific information that she's needing. There's also the part returns and recalls information that we're also enabling with Valmont. Again, more information for the warranty team to use when it comes to early detection. So besides early detection, we also are using natural language processing, like I mentioned, to analyze the technician comments, summarize the claim information for claim processors, but also do quality code prediction. So we're analyzing the technician comments, the rest of the product information and parts replaced to determine the best quality codes for repair, failure, those cause and correction codes that quality teams are using to analyze the information, but also the suppliers are using to process those claims. So looking for ways to improve recovery, but also communication between the OEMs and suppliers. And then the predictive trend modeling. So again, not just knowing that a failure happened, but trying to use that information to predict when failures might occur in the future. So looking at trending of issues based on the IoT information that's coming in, the repetitive failures and issues from claims, based on the product life cycle. Where is it at when it's happening in its life cycle? And what are the conditions that it's in? So we can start to say, hey, if this condition's coming up and this part of the product is in this life cycle, we can potentially predict failures before they even start occurring. Now, obviously, that's going to look a little different on how you go about repairing or preventing those as far as communication with customers or dealers, those reach outs and maintenance that could potentially happen to prevent the failure. And then I've already kind of mentioned the pattern detection and anomaly detection. So again, clustering together the issues, identifying which ones are the safety or costly failures, and sending those out, notifications to your team. On the opposite side of the screen, we're talking a little bit more about assistance. So using agents and AI to assist your dealers. A lot of those frequently asked questions, warranty coverage information and questions. I know I personally have had experiences where I've taken a vehicle into a dealer and they couldn't tell me if it was covered under warranty at the front desk. So I was kind of left wondering, like, what's the next call going to be? Is it going to be a bill for me? Or, hey, no, this is covered by your warranty and you're all set to go. So simple things like, is this covered under warranty type of questions? Anything down to the technician and how best to troubleshoot and diagnose an issue. There's also adjudication assistance. So as we work with customers like Katie, how can we help the adjudicators as they're processing claims? Because no matter what, there's going to be manual touches on claims. The high dollar ones, the safety risk, contingent ones. How do we help them process those claims a little bit faster and more consistently? By using the adjudication assistant, we're summarizing claims. We're also asking that agent to go back and look at historical claim information to give Katie and others similar scenarios to understand how were they solved or processed, so they can kind of do a little compare and contrast quickly without having to run down all of that information themselves or try and remember, hey, I had a claim like this last week. What was the resolution and outcome? So when we talk about early detection and AI, I know a lot of presentations have kind of mentioned different ways to implement and how to make this a more manageable task and project to take on. A lot of presentations have mentioned start small, stay focused on a single ROI or goal, try not to bring in too many SMEs and all of the different teams that are going to have different uses and needs to keep it focused. But also you want to build that cross-functional alignment. So it's kind of a tricky line to walk. You want to keep your team small and focused, but you also want to make sure you're getting the right information from all the different team members to make it effective. Prioritizing and cleaning the data. I heard yesterday, and I actually really agreed with this, is you don't have to start after you clean your data. Let's clean the data and get the project rolling and get a POC type of engagement out there so you can start to see some benefits immediately from that small focused goal. One that's actually not listed here that I was talking with someone yesterday that sounded really important was make sure you identify who's going to be assigned the information resolution, who's going to be assigned to take that data and information that's now being gleaned with the AI and assign someone to identify the team member that needs to take that forward. Who's going to use that information and make sure that it's being implemented into a new work process or quality workflow. So that's not just spitting out results that no one's responsible for. And then ultimately, we're not just using early warning as a tool. We're trying to make it as a cultural change in companies, bringing in more collaboration and communication across team members, whether that's warranty, quality, engineering, the dealer satisfaction team members, so that as you move forward, all of those teams are collaborating and using the information from the AI agents and early warning detection to your best ability and getting those ROIs.